So I think I have to find a setup that works for just swiping, which is really pretty hard. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Bam! There you go. That's BT skip, dude. That's the first human to ever pull off Bomb Chorizo skip in NTSC. Oh, yes!
Can we talk about something other than BT skip? No, that's the discussion we're gonna have. So if you don't like it, you can leave. Well, it's because this has been a conversation for a while now. Like a lingering thing. I've been kind of just staying out of it. I forgot it was even a conversation, but we'll talk about it because Zenny made like a nice Google Doc about it and everything. Oh boy, here it comes. God, you guys are so annoying today. Today? I mean, well, today in particular, but porn tabs. Nah, make sure to close them before I do this. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so, you know, since I'm like an SM person, I suppose we can talk about SM-related stuff going on. All right, anyways, so, yeah, so Zenny made a nice Google Doc for us all to look at. RSI. Ooh. No, it's very well put together. I'm terrible at this stuff because I have a hard time collecting my thoughts. So, I mean, this is great. This is nice. Not too long ago, there was a discussion being had about, well, there's a couple things, but we're not going to get into one of the things, but, about, did it arise from hardware stuff first, and then BT stuff came in? Anyways, it ended up at BT skip, kind of. You know, long story short, that's the only thing that really matters, because that's kind of like what we've all come to here, and that's the head of it all. And there's been a lot of discussion, which I have not read, because it's way too much Discord stuff to read, and I don't feel like doing that. Yep, head. So basically, Zenny came up with a nice Google Doc to state his case on the topic at hand. So what Zenny says, community moderation. Into Fat Scott mentioned the mods had discussed BT skip. People freaked out because they hadn't said they were discussing it. End of the world. Okay. So, let's just go through the Google Doc, and then I will we'll go from there. So, Bomb Chorizo skip overview of the potential for its inclusion in speedruns in comparisons to other strats and tricks. Bomb Chorizo skip is a strategy in Super Metroid that has been thought of as tasks only for many, many years. It has been known for a long time to be possible, but the inputs required for success are so precise that it was thought a human would likely never be able to achieve them. Yes, and that's the way it has been. And nothing really changed until we'll get into it, but a new strategy, really. This document is going to be referring to the NTSC version of the game of Super Metroid, which was released in the United States and Japan, 1994. Some lore, thank you so much. And does not apply to the PAL European version of the Super Metroid, which has entirely different physics and frame rates that allow Samus to exit the door more easily prior to locking you in the Bomb Chorizo fight. So, yeah. If you don't feel like you care much about how this works or how we got here, parts, okay. So, here we go. Bomb Chorizo skips, pros and cons. Pros, massive time save for early game. Well, no. We can skip the TLDR if you want, actually. When does the TLDR end? Just after the pros and cons. Okay. Yeah, we'll, because we're going to address this anyways. So, we'll look at that later. So how does this all work? All this work. What causes the list of pros, cons directly above? For the sake of completeness, prior to talking about the skip itself, let's mention how the door in the room works and why a skip is even a factor to begin with. I don't know if we need to go through this, but I will. Why not? Upon entering Bomb Chorizo's room, you may notice the door doesn't immediately close like it does in every other room of the game. The door uses a custom PLM that waits to close after the bomb item is collected. That's why in randomizers or prior to map rando, if you have bombs, the door will shut because bombs are the trigger for this. So if this item somehow were like swapped out with something else that wasn't bombs, the door would never shut. A period of time after the item fanfare completes for collecting the item, the door will automatically close. The timing for this occurs on an oscillator. So sometimes it will be on frame 1, and sometimes it will be on frame 2. This is also a huge, important aspect of this that we'll get to as well. Upon closing, the door is a gray door, which means it's locked and cannot be opened until it unlocks. In this specific instance, the door will unlock after BT has been killed and his drop spawn, which sets the flag in the game signifying he is dead. Please don't share publicly, huh? Yeah, there's going to be a quiz. In order to escape this door prior to its closing, a series of extremely precise positions and inputs are required. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of the trick. Samus must have a precise pixel position both vertically and horizontally upon collecting the bombs, the bomb item, so that she lands on the first frame after collection, and so that she is close enough to the door to make it out in time. So if you didn't, if you don't know what that means, it's basically an incredibly precise position. The frame after, the first frame you can move, you need to be landing. And the first frame you can move also needs to be the closest frame or pixel position to the door. So, Samus must have a momentum value between 1 and 1.13. Samus must perform an arm pump pose change on every frame of forward movement for 28 frames in a row. This means 1 frame on, 1 frame off, frame perfectly switching with no buttons being pressed for 2 or more frames, or released for 2 or more frames, for nearly half a second. Frame perfectly. Frame perfectly. Time a jump, and this is kind of a author's note here because there is a setup. Time a jump on the right frame towards the door after the arm pumps have been successfully executed. And then, wall jump check as Samus is entering the door to activate the door transition prior to the door fully closing and preventing Samus from turning. Whether or not this is successful at triggering the door transition is 50% chance due to door timer oscillation. Well, if it was 30 frames, it would be half a second, so nearly. It's 33 milliseconds off of half of a second, yes. So nearly, round up. Yeah. Yeah, so after all of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, after all of these steps, then you get a 50-50 chance because of door timer oscillation. If the door closes on frame 1 instead of frame 2, escaping prior to closing is impossible with currently known methods. And this is important as well because everyone goes, "Oh, you said BT skip, what impossible?" Yeah, that was before Zohdin pumps and then a setup that allowed you to do a frame perfect pause that allows you to buffer a frame perfect jump. The frame perfect jump input can be replaced with a frame perfect pause instead, which will be discussed shortly. I think the frame perfect pause is kind of misleading, isn't it? Isn't the frame perfect pause, the frame perfect pause is so much easier than the frame perfect jump, but we'll get into that. Okay, so far, if you guys are following along, we're going to talk about this. I will get, obviously I'm going to give my input here, but yeah. Yes, the pause is what makes this humanly possible, yes. Also a time loss, yes. The pause, which makes this, which it makes it humanly possible as well. So if people are wondering, one thing, and we will get into this, is the fact that you need to hold your controller. Sounds like Mario 64 carpet skip. It is not like that. or carpet skip is nuts, but it's different. So you need to hold your controller like this, and if you're Drewski, I don't have anything right now, but Drewski holds a pen, and then you have to be holding, and then he holds a pen in his knuckles, so it's all even, and then yeah, it's possible. So then you just do this, and then it's like you basically just get a rhythm, and you after a long grinding, you kind of get the right rhythm to where it's like, okay, that's 30 with no breaks in between. So the problem with the jump is when you do this, how do you jump? You'd have to like use your pointer finger. If you're doing this, you can't use your thumb to jump. So what you do is you pause, you on pause, and then you buffer the jump because you're done arm pumping at that point. So that's how that works. If you guys are wondering what your hand would look like, it's basically that. I don't have a pen right now, but well, basically, I think Drewski does it with a Sharpie or something, where you hold it, it keeps everything aligned, so it's like even, and then you do that. So yeah, not knuckles. Well, whatever. Do you not use knuckles? Fingernails? Oh yeah, you guys use fingernails. Yeah, not knuckles. Knuckles would blister you after a while. Yeah. So knuckles or fingernails. Sorry, misspeaking. So that's that. All right. Yeah, no, fingernails is better. Like, yeah. Knuckles is gonna fuck you up. Okay. So if BT skip is completed successfully, you are able to skip the length of the fight, which saves as much time as the fight would have taken, plus the time waiting for the drops to spawn, plus the time traveling out of the room in a way that you are also able to collect said drops. However, Samus will land on either the door or the next platform after the door as she is leaving the room, which leads to a loss in momentum, time loss in the next room, and she is also unable to collect resources from BT drops, so you're leaving with zero missiles, which means those resources have to be collected later in the run. So that's also time loss. Samus does not land on the door in task execution because task can press both left and right at the same time. Yeah. So this, you have to door check, which is also a time loss because even hitbox players, you have to do something to where you deactivate left and right, to where if you press left and right at the same time, I think if it overlaps, it is a neutral. It goes to neutral. Yeah. So for a task to execute, the series of precise positions and inputs listed above is fairly trivial. The person scripting the task can look at memory values to determine Samus's position, in addition to guaranteeing that Samus begins the movements on the correct frame so that the door always closes on frame 2. So you get rid of the 50-50 and you have a perfect position every time. This is just task stuff instead of frame 1, which removes the 50% chance of failure. And of course, a task can be written to arm pump frame perfectly for the length of the entire room, if that is the desire. So 28 frames in a row is trivial. You all know what BT skip looks like. It's whatever. For a human to reasonably execute everything above, some concessions need to be made, and some things are simply left to luck. Just Drewski, because he's, silly. So I'm making a BT skip video. I have it all written out pretty much. Maybe I'll just copy Zenny's Google Doc here and just turn it into a video at this point. I mean, it is a lot of the same information. Shit. Thanks, Zenny. And the thing is now, Chad, too, I have to like change some stuff and slightly, because now a lot of the things that are coming out with, like the Zohdin pumps for one, it was less of a impact, and now it's like, okay, now I have to explain this and this and this. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, because of Zohdin pumping and the setup. Thanks, Chad. All right, so some concessions need to be made. For a human to determine Samus's precise pixel position, both vertically and horizontally, a time-consuming setup is required to ensure that Samus has the correct horizontal value prior to executing the first jump, and then visual cues are necessary to ensure that Samus doesn't jump too high or collect the item too early, preventing her from landing on the first frame after collection. A human is fully capable of moving Samus in a way that she has the correct momentum value by executing a frame-perfect buffered spin jump. So I actually don't know what it looks like, but let me get to this here. Hold on. I've actually done this on console. I've done Bomb Chorizo Skip on console, just by watching the tasks and seeing how many, like, or not the tasks, but like in old school tasks when I was writing that Bomb Chorizo Skip video of the first like performed skip, which is like some weird setup, probably similar to this setup. Let's see here. Where am I going? So it would look something like this. So you enter the room or whatever. You're running. I don't know the actual setup for this, but you know, do some weird shit, and then you would you know, something like that, and then start doing it. So you have to like come over here, set up in the right pixel. I don't know what the pixel is. Do a proper jump, and then I'm not gonna like. I'm not worried about this being precise, but I'm just explaining. This is the setup, and this is also the time loss. So I'm trying to like show the whole picture here of what this would actually look like every single run for hundreds of runs until you get it once. Okay. Where were we? Samus starts facing right though. Okay. Well, however it is. Yeah, fun stuff. Okay. So by executing a frame-perfect buffered spin jump, the human plane, the game needs to buffer a jump input. This is achieved by jumping and not releasing the jump input after Samus has landed. In these circumstances, one frame pressing back, in this case left, and then releasing the input will result in Samus turning around but not jumping. 2 frames holding back. I'm not gonna like actually do the setup here, but yeah. So this is just basically explaining what is required. 2 frames holding back, and then releasing the input will result in Samus executing a buffered spin jump to the left vertically. 3 more frames holding back, and then releasing the input will result in Samus doing a buffered spin jump to the left. Yep. And moving to the left, and thus out of position to be able to collect the item. Okay. So a human is unable to reliably arm pump frame perfectly in a way that requires BT skip to occur. From this point on in this document, this will be referred to as arm pumping at 30 hertz or 30 hertz pumps. Okay, so this is when we get into the meat and potatoes. In 2023, a new method for arm pumping was shown by a runner named Zohdin. That is what we already talked about with the knuckles, or not the knuckles. We don't want to bleed the fingernails. Zohdin pumps are extremely powerful tech for any situation with a long stretch of running in a room, especially if there are slopes involved, as those slow Samus down. Zohdin pumps are possible on OEM Super Nintendo controllers, as well as theoretically possible on hitbox and keyboard. I don't know how this would... I mean, that would be really bizarre. You could do it on a keyboard, but yeah. Custom controllers, like hitboxes, have no theoretical restriction on where buttons can be placed, how they can be shaped, or the type of switches used in them. And there are no rules in place restricting these things on them either at this time. This is a big deal. You know how I feel about hitboxes, even though I'm making a hitbox right now, but you know, that's I'm not going to use it. I like woodworking. even with the extremely powerful tech that Zohdin pumping is, 30 Hz pumps are still extremely precise and can be physically damaging to players trying to learn how to do them effectively, efficiently, or pushing the boundaries of what is possible with them. If you are unaware of what RSI is, repetitive strain injury, I always say stress injury, but yeah, strain, please read up on it. In addition to the precision that 30 Hz pumps demand, even out of Zohdin pumping, the SNES console also has a polling rate. This is also a big deal. So hopefully you guys are taking everything that is required, because this is laid out very well by Zenny. This is like step by step by step by step by step. And this is, sorry, excuse me, I just spit almost. This is basically just showing the extreme precision that this trick requires. It's basically showing that this is just stupid, and it's a novelty. Okay. Oh, I don't know, Oats. Let's see, where was I? Yes, so in addition to the precision that 30 pumps demands, even out of Zohdin pumping, the SNES console also has a polling rate, which theoretically makes it even more precise than simply 30 Hz. Dr. Girlfriend posted an amazing video about BT skip in April 2023, which covers this in more depth if you're interested in that. This is a good video. The polling rates, well, let me finish this. For anyone that might be misunderstanding this piece, their requirement isn't to do an arm pump at a minimum of 30 Hz. They must be executed at exactly 30 Hz. Arm pumping at 31 Hz will result in not lining up with the frame rate the SNES is running Super Metroid at. And there will be inputs doubled or dropped, which will result in the skip failing. Arm pumping at 29 will not be fast enough and will result in the same. Even arm pumping at, this is really important. Even arm pumping at 30.2, and this is just an example, but it could literally even be 30.1. It could literally be 30. Just any like divisible thing because of how it's lined up when you start it, I think. Unless it normalizes in some way with the, I mean, it might, but I don't think this isn't like the limit. It could be like 30.02. But anyways, 30.2, even though it's 30, look at this 0.2, has a high chance of failing, as detailed in Dr. Girlfriend's video. Yeah, you can change it to a 1. You can probably even put a 0.8 there, and it would still, this still is true because of polling rates. A human is not going to be able to reliably time a frame-perfect jump input while attempting the escape, especially if that human is Zohdin pumping on a SNES controller. As mentioned previously, scroll down a little bit. Oh, well, there you go. Oh, you didn't have to change it. We're getting live update. Yep, he's changing. He's rewriting history. Yep, we can see it. Jeez, man. Come on. A human is not going to be able to reliably time a frame-perfect jump input while attempting the escape, especially if that human is Zohdin pumping on a SNES controller. Like I said before, how you have to hold. This frame-perfect input can be replaced by a frame-perfect pause input instead, which allows you to then buffer the jump input during the on pause so that the jump still happens frame perfectly. But doesn't require frame perfect precision on the human's part of execution. So like I was saying earlier, you can't really like hold this and then jump. You could, but then you're just adding something else. So, I mean, this is going to be a really awful example, and this is not the proper setup. Let me show you. But essentially what the idea is, you come over here, or you do this. I don't know if it paused. You see how it paused? And then this isn't going to work. But then what happens is you unpause, and then all you do is you buffer the jump. You see that? I kind of pressed it before. That's like, as long as you do the frame perfect pause, which is a lot easier. Yeah, try again. Okay. You buffer that. Like, I'm going to just press jump here. See that? That was buffered to where, like, it was the next frame possible. So this is a time loss, and this is what normalizes it. Okay. Okay. A human is fully capable of performing the wall jump check to trigger the door transition part of the escape consistently, which is a 4-frame window. The door check is fairly simple. I'm not 100% certain on this, but I believe that to be the case. The positioning and pause setups to make this more humanly viable were found by Snick in 2023. That was after Zohdin pumping, yeah. After Zohdin pumps were discovered, and because Snick had come up with this with the setups already, I began testing the idea of trying. Oh, so it's Zenny's fault. Testing the idea of trying to get enough consecutive arm pumps in the correct half-second window during the pause to have a shot at making it out of the door. After a series of save states to ensure the door was closing on the correct frame and that Samus's position was correct. This is a clip of Zenny doing that. I'm not going to click on links right now because I have desktop, but Zenny, you get stuck in the door. Or let me just see here. I'll just, hold on. Let me show you just so it's, okay. So. Oh, okay. So this is showing that it was possible at this point. Okay. Basically. 4 pumps missed. Okay. Sometime later, Drewski, Shadow Phoenix, also began attempting practicing this. After having already became very proficient, the best runner at this time at Zohdin pumping, he was able to successfully exit the door in February of 2024. Show this. Where are we at here? Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Hold on.
So, still not RTA viable, it says underneath. So, this was, I'm pretty sure this was just hours and hours of grinding after Zenny had shown that it was very close, yes. Okay, one thing to note about Drewski's Zohdin pumps is that he's a cheater, is that he holds a pen, other object in his fingers while performing them. Personally, I found this to be hugely beneficial for consistency when Zohdin pumping with OEM membranes. But it actually seemed to make my own Zohdin pumps worse on the aftermarket switches. Drewski, however, has said that holding something always helps him. When the idea of holding a pen, screwdriver, or whatever to improve Zohdin pumps has been brought up with the community before, there have been many people that seemed uncomfortable with it. Some people have called it tool-assisted as a joke, but others, I believe, genuinely feel that way. Do people actually feel that way, or is it... I know I've joked about it as well, but I mean, it's pretty... yeah, like straight to jail. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of... yeah, tool assisted is kind of ridiculous. I don't know. Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch. So people have okay, because it says I believe genuinely feel that way. I didn't know if like you just thought, which I get. I speak that way all the time. I personally was holding a screwdriver for my Zohdin pumps up until the SGDQ 2024 race, after which time I decided I didn't want to do it anymore, both because of general public community backlash and also personally, it does feel, sorry, I'm having a stroke, and personally, it just does feel a little strange to physically pick something up to improve my button presses. Yeah. The last note I will make about this is that holding a pen or screwdriver mainly assists with finger pain stability. It is possible to swipe the button with a Zohdin pump, with Zohdin pumping, just as quickly without holding anything, but consistency seems to suffer as a result. This has been apparent watching Drewski practice. Practice it using both methods as well. Yeah, using a glove. I'm gonna use a Zohdin pump glove. Dirty cheaters. There, good enough. BT skip. I've been doing research on controller parts and builds since 2022, mainly in an effort to find a comfortable D-pad for runners of Super Metroid that are having trouble sourcing OEM parts that work, which are 30 plus years old at this point. In spring 2024, I received a parts shipment from one of the manufacturers I've been working with. You sound like you're peddling drugs or something. Which, to my surprise, included swappable boards for the L and the R, buttons, and a SNES controller. These boards have mechanical tactile switches on them. I do have one of these controllers. The thing is, the controller that Zenny gave me, I needed to rework because it didn't work half the time. It was like broken. Sorry, Zenny. It feels cool and I like it, but I just haven't had the time to work on that yet. I haven't messed with it yet. Sorry. Okay. Some years ago, these would have been in a gray area or explicitly banned from use on the competitive leaderboards. But due to rule changes in 2022 explicitly allowing the use of completely custom controllers like hitboxes, since these boards are functionally the same as the OEM boards, just with more reliable switches, they are currently allowed for use. Screenshots of the announcement. Yeah, I don't know if I need to address this, but this is in 2022. Additionally, there will be a new required filter added to the SRC boards. This is so funny because at this time, this part right here is so funny. Additionally, there will be a new required filter added to the SRC boards for control method. The options available for this filter will be SNES, which includes non-stock controllers that use the SNES layout, third-party, or other layouts such as modern Xbox, PlayStation controllers, keyboard, and hitbox. This is literally the Eddie filter. Because Eddie was like the only one at the time that was using hitbox, really. There was like other people using keyboard. This is just the Eddie filter. And isn't this right after Eddie got his 41? Like right after. Yep. And if you watch that video, he never breaks out a spin once. So this is the Eddie filter. Yes, I love it. Upon receiving these parts, I noticed that Zohdin pumps became much easier. Okay, so back to business where we were. Upon receiving these parts being the mechanical switches, which you can see right here. So that's what we're talking about. Upon receiving the mechanical switches, I noticed that Zohdin pumps became much easier to do at high rate reliably. They are not capable of producing inputs that OEM parts are not capable of, but they are capable of doing so more reliably. Because of the construction of the switch on the board, to be clear, the same thing is true of hitboxes, keyboards, and some other aftermarket controllers, which are fully and explicitly allowed on the leaderboards. I decided to share these parts out with runners I considered friends in the community. Yep, if you didn't get one, you weren't a friend. And asked for feedback from Drewski, Zost, Oats, Professor School, Ruya, Kano, and some others. I built controllers for these people and shipped them out with no charge, simply asking for feedback and thoughts on the switches to report back to manufacturers. Upon receiving the controller, Drewski, who is still the best Zohdin pumper at this time, tested them, initially thinking they were not usable for it. Then, within a few minutes of finding out the opposite is true, and they are in fact more reliable for producing high-rate Zohdin pumps, as I had also noticed. So the key point of this is Drewski was the only one like really trying to crazy grind Zohdin pumps to like really get there, and he said that the mechanical switches basically it says, I figured it out. So Zenny's linking DMs. He's leaking their personal DMs right now. So drama. I figured it out, how to cheat. These Zohdin pumps have so much potential. It's kind of wild. Holy fuck, man. Almost consistent 52s. Consistent 52s. This is a reference to basically what's required to get the bomb trailer skip. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zenny. But the almost consistent 52s is saying that, yes, in a 1 second period. Okay. Zenny, holy shit, you created a monster. What, did you get a 59? 2 days later, Drewski had successfully completed a BT skip using the normalized setups found by Snake from the start of frame perfect inputs to the finish in a full room. Zenny, I have something that I want to show you. And this is after, you know, he got the mechanical switches, which made the Zohdin pumpings incredibly, it took him 19 minutes to change his mind. So yeah, he just does it with a save state right before. Upon seeing this, I became very concerned because Drewski was better than him. For the competitive future of the game. As detailed above extensively. I'm kidding. This trick is extremely precise, bordering on impossible for humans. Shortly after that, Drewski became violent. He said he would threaten... shortly after that, Drewski began attempting the skip and runs, which he said was a joke. Thank you very much, Eddie. Appreciate that. BT skipped this. I didn't look at what happened. If you want to know what happened to me, I just died. Or no, I reset because I was talking to the chat. I didn't realize that I needed grapple to escape Dragon, so I said, fuck this, I don't care. But I also went on like a crazy alternate route all the way up to like wrecked ship before I did any of Norfair, so it was pretty bad. But anyways, thank you very much. You did the same? Nice. It was terrible. But yeah, I didn't see I was like talking to the chat. I didn't see... Yeah, that's why I didn't do that. And I was like, I didn't want to have to find speed blind. So I said, screw this. And then like 40 minutes in or whenever I stopped, I didn't save after killing Kraid. I went and killed Dragon. It took a while. And I said, oh, I didn't even see the loop required to get out. So I just forfeit. I didn't want to do that again. Because it brought me all the way above the key hunters. And I lost everything because I hadn't saved all the way above in Brinstar starting point. Yeah. If you kept playing, it would get worse. Okay, well, I'm glad I stopped. I don't care about the point loss. Anyways, back to business. I just committed to the dumb ice clip. Wait, do you add gravity? I was gonna try to find power bombs. There was 2 potential power bomb packs. Oh, there's a suitless one? I didn't know the suitless one. He X-ray climbed it? If I had X-ray, I would have just climbed out. But I didn't have X-ray. Yeah. Alright, anyways. Yeah, that's like sub-pixel stuff or some weird stuff. Okay, back to canceling Drewski. Shortly after that, Drewski began attempting the skip and runs, which he said was a joke. But on at least... Oh, yeah, real quick, I wanted to laugh about this. This right here was made because of you, the Eddie filter. This cracked me up. The filter, this was after you got your 41, Eddie. You got filtered out. Anyways. The hitbox. You're the only person with a hitbox. Get filtered. Yeah, it's the same thing. But no, they have to make a distinction between you and keyboard players. Okay, back to business. Which he said was a joke, but on at least one at least once instance was close enough that he was able to get door stuck. So what happened was Drewski was joking. He wasn't going to go for it in a run, but he did go for it in a run, and he went for it enough to where he got door stuck, at least. But he said it was a joke. So after that, he began saying again that he would never go for it in runs, but has continued practicing it. This is like a hit piece on Drewski. After a week or so of contemplating all of this, in concern for the competitive future of the community, I decided to reach out privately to one of the moderators and ask for a discussion to take place about the potential for this to be achieved in a run and whether it should be allowed. I attempted to remain as objective as possible when making this request and tried to put emphasis that whether the skip was explicitly allowed or disallowed, the discussion and some sort of statement to the community was the intent behind asking for it. Okay. I spent a bunch. This was because of personal experiences I had in the past when implementing Moondance in Taco Tank into the reverse boss order world record route. The community at large had a big reaction to those things. Moondance more than Taco Tank, which I still hate Moondance. I'm not going to say it shouldn't be allowed, but Moondance is so stupid. I think that this, if the Moondance were in more categories, I think it would also have a not quite the same effect as BT Skip, because Moondance is much easier, but it would also have an impact to where it'd be extremely boring, which is also one of your arguments, I think. More than Taco Tank. And some people called for the run to be disqualified, for Moondance to be banned. It could be allowed in RBO. We can give it to RBO, that's fine. One person told me I ruined the game for them. I wish that you wouldn't have told people about what I said to you, Zenny. I find this to be not okay. So I did my best not to take those experiences personally. But they were still difficult for me in many respects. There had been times before, and have been since, that things have changed in the Super Metroid speedrun scene. And decisions have always been reactionary rather than proactive. This is actually kind of difficult to do because, and decisions have always been reactionary rather than proactive. So reactionary, it's hard to be proactive about things that happen so suddenly. And when things happen suddenly, they become reactionary. So Milo tried to chase a coyote. I just shit my... Are you good? Do you need help? I assume he's in. Yeah, we have coyotes out there every now and again when it's dark, and he's good. Yeah, whenever I see one, I have to like run out there because the coyote isn't afraid of the dogs, but when we walk out, they're afraid of humans. So, yeah, that's scary. No, he would be a snack. That coyote out there that hangs out is big. I'm sorry you had to do that. If I would have heard, I would have ran out there. I didn't hear. Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of scary. Yeah, Milo thinks he's tough, but he is just a snack to that coyote. And that coyote, it's getting cold, so that coyote's looking for food. I would stab that coyote. If I saw it starting to approach one of the dogs. Anyways. Dude man guy. Yeah, I don't know about the carpetless situation. I know it's a really insane trick, but yeah, I need more lore on the carpetless stuff. All I know is that it's incredibly insane to actually do. And I know people have been grinding it to where, like, if you get consistent with it or you do it, you're saving so much time. But this carpetless is a little bit different as far as I know. From like what I know about carpetless, it's a little bit different than what happens in like the BT skip, because this is like insane precision that is affected by the polling rate in the hardware. It has hardware limitations. Yeah, and because it's so late in the run, that sucks. I did my best not to take these experiences personally. but they were still difficult for me. If you guys are wondering, this is a Zenny's Google Doc. In many respects, there had been times before and have been since that things have changed in the Super Metroid speedrunning scene. I'm sorry, I already covered this. And decisions have always been reactionary rather than proactive. Like I said, it's hard to be proactive about something when it happens so suddenly, and when it happens suddenly, or someone finds something and then introduces it, it's always reactionary. So to be proactive about something is really, really difficult, because until someone does something and then you realize it's possible, then you have to make rules. And then people say it's reactionary because someone just did something with like Zohdin pumping. We didn't think that would be a thing, but now it's become almost reactionary instead of proactive. So that's why it's really hard to be proactive when it comes to like anything like this. I don't know, in some regards, but this has led to unproductive conversations and hurt feelings for a variety of people. So in an effort to improve this about the community, I decided to reach out proactively to a moderator. Maybe this is just what you mean. You're trying to, deal with things before, to request a proactive discussion to take place and some sort of proactive communication with the community at large. Okay, so what you mean is you're trying to be proactive about BT skip before Drewski starts doing it like 5 times a day because he grinds for 8 hours and he resets 400 times. Okay. Some time passed without hearing much else about it until Fat Scott 25 was discussing the potential for standardizing community moderation organizer roles, and casually mentioned that the moderators had discussed BT skip but never communicated about it because they had decided not to take any specific action at this time. This was later corrected that the discussion had not yet concluded, and that was why nothing was communicated as of then. Okay. This spawned a very intense back and forth between many members of the community in the Discord, with the majority of those speaking feeling that the idea of regulating banning BT skip in speedruns to be ridiculous, unnecessary, a bad decision. With a small subset of top runners feeling that the concern, and you highlight top runners in this sentence, and I know you do. Feeling that the concern is more directly and that it is far more achievable with aftermarket parts than the original hardware. And an even smaller subset of the community, mainly myself, concerned that it will lead to a decrease in runner satisfaction, viewer satisfaction, and stagnation of Super Metroid speedrunning progression as a whole. We'll get back to this. Rather than trying to pin down every opinion from every person who spoke, an attempt at a summary of pros and cons and comparisons will be shared below. Like I said, you definitely, when you're writing this, you might not have highlighted top runners, but you highlighted top runners in your mind, because this discussion always happens to where, like, obviously people want to be understanding. We want to listen to other people in the community. Even if you're not a top runner, it's fine. Like, there shouldn't be elitists. But when Zenny says top runners, that means runners with tens of thousands of hours collectively of experience that might have a very different opinion than someone that says BT skip in speedruns, banning it in speedruns would be ridiculous, unnecessary, or a bad decision. So obviously the tens of thousands of hours collectively from top runners will see this in with a very different set of lenses, very different perspective than the other group with like 1,000 collectively instead of 60,000 hours collectively, for example. Okay. And also, feeling that the concern is more directly and that it's far more achievable with aftermarket parts than the original hardware. So this is also another important thing. As stated above, with this, once Zenny gave some switches. These are mechanical switches. These are not the original hardware. Zenny was just giving them out to test. Drewski, who was like the only one really grinding for this stuff, trying to be consistent, you know, said this. I figured it out. These Zohdin pumps have so much potential. It's kind of wild. Holy fuck, man. Consistent 52s. Zenny, holy shit, you created the monster. And that is with these aftermarket mechanical switches. Yes. It's like, think of your mechanical keyboard with like the click. So like right when it clicks, it's like a guaranteed press to where a membrane is like, has travel distance, a different like form of travel distance and a different mechanism which activates the signal to press an input, essentially, right? So like, I don't know if mechanical switches work the same, but like with this, the way these membranes work is there's a piece of carbon. There's a carbon pad, and then there's on these boards there's a carbon. There's a carbon like circle with a line in the middle. When you bridge the connection between that carbon, which is like top and bottom, you bridge that, it creates the signal, which will then give you your input. Mechanical switches probably work in a very similar way. However, it's like a guaranteed press, essentially. Even though I was having issues with mine, but I think it should be. The mechanical switch is also pressed down, and yeah. So basically, when you click this, though, it should be consistent. Yeah, you use these? No, I don't use these. I have one, but I need to fix it up because something was wrong with it. Basically, they're just much more reliable, and they're consistent. Okay, anyways, back to this. We'll finish this up, and then I'm going to give my thoughts. Okay, so BT skip pros and cons. Applicability to speedrun categories and requirements. So the pros. Massive time save for early game. Swag. This is not sarcasm. Not getting scammed by BT anymore. Potential time save in essentially every category. The flip side, so potential time save in essentially every category. This would destroy categories that started the ship. There's a lot of them. This would kill them. Basically, whoever gets BT skip would just have record in every single, and it would just be dumb. So in order to like get record, the competitive nature would be just completely shot because of how insane this is. Con, significantly harder on OEM original hardware than on aftermarket hardware. So these are the cons of trying to go for BT skip. Risk of RSI for people attempting to learn do it in runs. Extremely inaccessible, borderline impossible strat, which causes a risk of stagnation, negative health spirit of the speedrun. Impacts in the form of a huge increase in early game resets, likely 95% plus 5 minutes in. This is not an exaggeration, like 95% plus. Probably what I would have said as well, and I would have said 95% is like a conservative thing, but you put the plus there, which is also necessary, I feel like. In 5 minutes, yeah, leading to a loss of satisfaction, just not for the runners but viewers as well. So this, but viewers as well. I mean, who cares about the viewer? I'm just kidding. We'll come back to it. Upon successful execution of all requirements, currently an unavoidable 50% chance of failure. So even if you go for all this, which is dumb and insane, there's a 50% chance it just won't work. Upon successful completion, resources, missiles, energy must be gathered elsewhere, which negates some of the time save. One method of improving consistency for 30 Hz arm pumps is to hold an external device, such as a pen or screwdriver, in the fingers to improve stability and reduce finger strain and pain. This has been a point of contention concern for people in the past. Very likely time loss in essentially every category. The flip side of this pro. Yeah. And well, this is not an entirely permanent issue. I still feel like, I still feel it worth noting at this time. Currently, there's a gap in useful resources tools if anyone wants to practice the strat. This is being worked on, but is inherently a difficult thing to accomplish, especially with the physical precision required by a person's body and muscles. Applicability. All categories that collect bombs from bomb trees, though, at all categories except any percent glitched with door skip or potential glitched categories with door skips. Requirements, normalized movements, set up for positioning Samus, follows, okay. Let's see here. We'll just finish up with this. Requirements, normalized movement setup for positioning Samus, followed by 31 frame perfect inputs, 27 of which are back-to-back arm pumps and RNG in the sense that a human cannot determine which frame they are on for the 50-50 door timer oscillation. Also note that simply being frame perfect is not enough here, as further explained in the Dr. Girlfriend video linked above. This has to do with polling rates and hardware limitations. Impact, failure to successfully exit means being forced to fight BT and accepting the time spent with a normalized setup and pause as a time loss, 8 seconds. At world record level, this is effectively a reset only 5 minutes into the run. If you start going for this, you would reset hundreds of times per day, or not hundreds because you literally don't have that much time in a day, but you would maybe get one run per day if you were like so consistent at this. And then you would miss CWJ, or you'd get a mid-fan tune, and it would negate everything. Potential time save 9+ seconds when factoring in the time loss for momentum, the need to farm resources elsewhere, and the time it takes to set up for the skip. So I think what's set is around 12 seconds optimally. Well then, what are you glitching, Chad? Yeah. The game. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about, though. Because, you know. For the sake of comparison, a breakdown of Taco Tank in a similar fashion to the one... So this is Taco Tank with the same pros and cons. Pros, massive time save for item collection stage of the RBO. Swag, yep, for sure. Many extensive resources, both in the form of tutorials and practice ROM tools to provide instant feedback on your attempts. Cons, very difficult trick that requires dedicated time to learn and can be frustrating to pin down. Upon successful execution of all requirements, unavoidable 50% chance of failure, which is, I mean, this is less of an issue because, yeah. Because you have infinite attempts. I'm sure you're going to say that. You have infinite Taco Tank attempts. You have 1 out of every 5-minute Bomb Chorizo attempts. Has made an already less accessible category even more inaccessible for people that might consider pushing for a world record. Large increase in early game resets, 50% plus, 3 minutes into the run, leading to a loss of satisfaction for some runners and viewers alike. Yes. Applicability, reverse boss order in some meme categories, if they can get it first try. Requirements, moonwalk, okay, whatever. You guys know Taco Tank. Let's see here. Community suggestions on how to move forward. No regulation. So these are the suggestions, and these are like possible outcomes. No regulation. No regulations are put in place in regards to BT skip. Runners will self-regulate their decisions on whether to attempt to learn how to do it or learn how to do it, physically pump at the correct speed, take care of their bodies to avoid RSI, etc. Viewers will self-regulate their decisions on whether to watch someone reset for multiple hours, days, longer at a time trying to get a run with it. One person suggested that people may start to try cheating with the arm pumps, and that with the greatly increased accessibility to technology for things like hand cams, these could be required. However, this would just cause a different barrier of entry, which in my opinion should be avoided if possible. So we're just going to get back to all this. Hold on. Rules, bans are put in place regarding to hardware specifically. So this is another suggestion. The current rules allow custom controllers to be used for speedruns of Super Metroid. Modifying an OEM controller with aftermarket LNR switches is functionally no different than allowing someone to use a completely custom controller with the same types of switches. These do already exist, both in the SNES form factor and in the hitbox keyboard sense, and will only continue to be more prevalent and available as time passes. Putting a restriction on this would accomplish nothing except to discourage the use of OEM hardware, which in my opinion should never happen. It would not be good or fair to walk back the changes to legalize hitboxes, keyboards on the leaderboards at this point for the community. It would only be a disservice to players that have invested their time and money into equipment to make the game more enjoyable. Yeah, you can't walk this back now at this point. First of all, 1 round will never be required, and BT skip, you're just throwing that in there to try to get a rise out of me, Chad. Shut up. Because that was never even in there. So yeah, you're just being ridiculous. Okay. Yeah, you can't walk this back once you've like opened this can of worms, which is fine. I think it's fine because you should be able to enjoy the game on keyboard. Not everyone has a SNES or a good, cool setup, or unless you are Eddie, and then then we have to talk about it. Rules bans are put in place regarding BT skip specifically. One suggestion is to ban BT skip or require that BT skip or BT be killed, defeated. This has the potentially unintended side effect of banning BT skip in any form in the future, should something else be found that is more accessible. Another suggestion is to ban attempting to leave the room via the use of 30 Hz arm pumps. This has the positive effect of addressing the current concerns surrounding RSI, the benefit of aftermarket switches, and the competitive health of the leaderboards, while also not closing the door on a potentially more accessible way to leave the room should one be found in the future. Another suggestion, BT skip is both allowed and banned by splitting the leaderboards. The community has been extremely resistant to the idea of doing this in the past. Even with something like splitting PAL runs, which it should be because PAL is an entirely different game, that doesn't make any sense. And it's incredibly difficult to get a PAL version, which are technically on an entirely separate game, or they're technically an entirely separate game. Additionally, it wouldn't be a matter of splitting 1 or 2 categories. It would be virtually every category, which would be extremely messy. Split the leaderboard on Taco Tank too. Well, I mean, now you're just lacking any nuance. Thanks for the time for reading this. I may accompany it with some sort of video at some point, but either way, I appreciate our community, and everything I've said over the past few days and written in this document is a sincere effort to preserve the enjoyable pastime of watching and grinding for better times and speedruns of this game as a whole. Whether you know me personally from a distance, or perhaps even negative perspectives regarding me as a member of the community, which yeah, I have plenty of those, or as a speedrunner of this game, all I ask is that you believe me when I say genuinely I am okay with whatever outcome is decided. And the only reason I feel concerned or brought up my concerns at all is because I want to preserve the health and longevity of this hobby. It is not coming from a place of selfishness. Thank you for your time and consideration. Okay, so thank you for writing this up, Zenny. Appreciate it. Let's go through some points here. So let's look at this part right here. You're gonna install a scroll wheel. Yep, there you go. It's somewhat similar to GIM and OOT. And that, well, yes, it's faster. It sure does make speedrunning and watching just a horrible experience. Yeah, you want to know when I stopped enjoying Ocarina of Time speedruns? They were my favorite speedruns to watch. Ocarina of Time is when it started changing, where from like also no source required. Yeah, yeah, was it SRM or what was it called? Like the no source kind of shit, or Ace and that kind of stuff. It became so boring, and I stopped watching. You know, it definitely was my favorite run to like chill and watch. It was like basically like when Clint was grinding and never PBing for like 3 years. Like the old N64 route was so much fun to watch. Yeah, no, he's streaming. He's streaming tomorrow, I heard. Don't worry. Do you have any questions regarding the BT skip? Nope, we have all the evidence we need right here. Yep. Exhibit A and Exhibit B. Don't worry about it. No further questions, Your Honor. legitimately, do I have questions for you? Did I add that I also got BT skipped 6 times? Full room yesterday in less than an hour. On OEM. Sure, if you want. What do you think, Drewski? Since you're the only one psychotic enough to like actually try to grind for this shit. I mean that with sincerity because, you know, Jesus. Drewski started off saying he thought it should be banned and then changed his mind to being indifferent an hour later. That's because he was grinding it. And then, yeah, what he just said. I don't want it in runs anytime soon. I'm not going to grind it in runs. Then why are you grinding it? And why did you do it for an hour yesterday? I just want clarification because I need help understanding since you're literally the person. If you say for fun, so just for fun. So what's your opinion is that I don't want it in runs anytime soon. That is really that's like saying what is that? That's a non-answer. I don't want it in runs anytime soon. What does that mean? Because that's leaving the door open since you're the only one grinding this to where, well, maybe in the future when I personally feel like grinding it. So like you can do whatever you want. I grinded Ridley Short Charge for fun before even learning all that. That's totally fine. And I've done that as well. Where do you think that clip came from? Or that emote came from where I'm like looking at the screen. Now, I'm just curious because Drewski is the only one spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours trying to grind this out once Zohdin pumps and whatever became a thing. So that's why I am trying to get the perspective of someone, the only person. Well, I only said hours like 5 times, so we're up to 5 hours. So no, I got 7 more to go. It means I like the optimization of the run currently. I don't ever want to attempt it in runs personally, but anyone can try. If they want to do it in runs, power to them. Well, yeah. What I mean is what Zenny said is you just practicing Zohdin pumps in general, which, you know, which is the same thing because it's... So let's talk about this. How do I feel about this going forward? It's almost... Part of me almost doesn't care because... Like, okay, so this is a whole can of worms. If someone wants to go for this, I think this is like the most boring thing I could possibly offer you guys as a streamer. Like, let's say I grinded this out, and let's say I got it once or twice per session, which is probably realistic. If like you really, really grind it out, because it's a 50-50, eventually you're going to hit that 30 frame proper rhythm. From that perspective, I think that is the most boring, run-killing thing you could possibly do. It's not run-killing in a good way, like, oh, you killed that run. It's so awful. Because you are going to spend 5 minutes just doing... You're going to spend the same... You're just going to reset 10 to 50 times, 10 to 100 times before you get that attempt. And it's like, oh, nice, I got the attempt. Oh, man, I wish I would have gotten CWJ. I had HBJ. Man, I got a mid pattern. Guess we better grind it out again. In that time span, you would have been better off just trying to get a 1 round fast. So from the community perspective, this is like the most boring thing if this is ever required. If it were ever required, I probably would not. It depends on the category too, because like if a world record were to be achieved in any percent with this, and it was like, let's say it was like a 40-14, I would never go for the any percent record again. Like, it would just be dead to me. And it would be, and so my perspective is probably almost everyone else's perspective as well. And so what does that do to the run as a whole? What does that do to the community? What does that do to the speedrunning health? It kills it. I would stop running the categories because it wouldn't be fun to me to grind that out. I have too much I have other shit to do. You know, like that it would just be so much wasted time. And I know, oh, you already reset a bunch in your 90% runs. Well, at least there's like, you're being productive, right? Like you're getting places in your runs. You're trying to like, you know, see Fantoon. You're resetting when you're not resetting because you're trying for like a 50-50, 28 frame perfect or 31 frame perfect input bullshit that could be destroyed by polling rate and then by the 50-50. Yeah. Did you suck the balls? Well, I mean, Fantoon sometimes, though. Why is this discussion now? Because it's been brought up. So that's how I feel about it from a viewer perspective. And when Zenny says viewers will self-regulate, well, I wouldn't ever subject you guys to that boring shit. If like someone wanted to rot their brain and actually go for this in runs, that's probably fine, but that's never something that I'm going to actually do unless there's like a different setup that makes it a lot easier. You know, that makes it like a lot easier in a sense that it's at least somewhat consistent to where you can like, okay, you can grind this out like 1 rounds. You can get good at 1 rounds. You know, this is one suggestion. Runners will self-regulate their decisions on whether to attempt it. I'm generally, this is how I feel. Like I have no say in what someone wants to do with their body, with their health. If someone wants to like have a repetitive strain injury, that's fine. That's not my problem. What I will say is there should at least be, which is funny because a lot of times when you say something is hard or it will injure you, this actually has the opposite effect and people will then try to do something. So you also have to be careful. And I feel like that's the way Drewski is too. When you say something like is really hard or it shouldn't be done or it encourages people to then push for that. It's like an actual psychological thing, right? Yes, I mean, a lot of us are that way. So generally I say, yeah, self-regulation is fine. Do whatever you want because I can't say what you should do with your body. And doing this shit, grinding this shit out, especially when you're young, will probably have impacts later on. You know, mid 30s and 40s creeps up on you, and then you're gonna be like, oh shit, now I have like nerve damage. That's great. But that's none of my business. That's your business. So that's how I feel about that. Runners being able to self-regulate their own health decisions. Yeah, exactly. Plenty of competitive hobbies have risks. That's totally fine. Okay, that's how I feel about this. Spend 1,000 hours trying to get a 10-second advantage at the start of a run, or spend 1,000 hours grinding, practicing the rest of the run to improve all your times by 10 seconds. Take your pick. Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. So, okay, let's look at the next one. Rules bans are put in place regarding hardware specifically. So the next thing, we'll talk about this. How do I feel about modifying controllers? This is a tough one for me. Like, how do I feel about mechanical switches? So Drewski earlier said he's grinding it from this point. So Drewski had a save and did this for an hour, and he got it 6 times. You know, from whatever position, however you set this up, just like this, and he just kept repeating over and over, and he got it 6 times on OEM. How many times would he have gotten it with those mechanical switches in that hour? So it's such a difficult thing for me to, like, how do I feel about that? I don't know. Less, I think. So what is this then? I figured it out. Those zone pumps have so much potential. It's kind of wild. Holy fuck, man. Almost consistent 52s. Zenny, holy shit, you created the monster. And then shortly after is when you actually grinded. This is with the mechanical switches. So have you changed your perspective on this? Since you're the only one grinding this out. Should we disregard this? Okay, so you've gotten better at OEM, so you don't feel this way anymore. Okay. Oh, no, I mean, he definitely holds. I don't know if I don't know. This isn't tool assisted, I think, to hold something. You know, I don't necessarily care. Drewski wasn't answering your first question when he said less, I think. Oh, okay. I thought he was saying he would have gotten it less on the mechanical than the OEM. What if the object I was holding is vibrating at 30 hertz? Well, I got something in my, in my sock drawer that vibrates at 30 hertz. Could I use that? He was saying it was 40 minutes or less that he grinded. Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha. Where is the line drawn? Yeah, that's why we're talking about it. I think there should be some sort of line drawn. Yeah, just take a drill. Is Oats arguing that Drewski's a bad person? Yeah, for sure. No, I just think that the more we talk about this and the more that we say like this is so ridiculous to even consider, the more Drewski will just try to do it because he's stubborn. And I think like Drewski will try to prove a point, which we already know it's possible. Not gonna do it in runs though. Zenny, do you have anything to say about that? So here's okay, well, I saw Drewski at a grocery store in Houston yesterday. I told him how cool it was to meet him in person, but I didn't want to be a douche and bother him and ask him for photos or anything. He said, oh, like you're doing now? I was taken aback. All I could say was, he kept cutting me off, huh? He was closing his hands, shutting my... Yeah, that sounds like Drewski to me. No, Drewski will get mad if I say anything. He got mad at me yesterday for lurking his stream. So Shadow Phoenix is back. Okay. I'm not doing it in runs. Well, here's the thing, though. Even if you want to do it in runs, if it's not banned and we don't make a decision going forward, what am I gonna... I can't say anything. I just am going to... I will probably be slightly disappointed because it's so tough. So this is coming from me. I have 12 to 15,000 hours in this game. I've been playing this since the end of 2012. Obviously, like, I make a living streaming. I love this game, or else I still wouldn't keep playing it. Shut it down, Oats. I mean, I probably should retire from streaming at this point. Jesus. This, to me, would be a huge disappointment. I would be super sad because I know, like, if Drewski has jokingly gone for it, in once it is, if Drewski gets it in a run, I think that changes everything, which is more power to you. I would be like, that's dope, that's insane, congratulations. But I would also understand that once something is actually done in real time, not just proven to be possible, but actually done, that changes the psychology of it. And to me, I would be disappointed because going forward, it would completely change people's perspective. It's going to happen eventually. Yeah, I mean, it could. It'll definitely happen eventually if, like, there's also a setup that, like, gives you a couple frames of lenience, right? I mean, here's the thing too, like, I would entirely, and this isn't like a threat, don't go for it, you know. I wouldn't watch Drewski's attempts. If anyone was grinding out bomb trees with Skip, I wouldn't watch. Who has the time to watch that many attempts of runs? It would be cool, it would be a novelty. Yeah, exactly. Well, for me, that would be annoying to hear that. Like, oh, what, are you going to go for BT Skip? Because then I have to keep explaining, like, no, that's stupid. Not only that, but that's like a side effect. That would just be funny. Yeah. And I've been hearing that joke since the dawn of time. Like, literally in 2013, people have been joking about it. So it's like, whatever. How many attempts? Way more than that, Rikoja. Because you do this. That's one attempt. Oh, no, sorry. Way more. So you do You literally do this. Oh, that's one attempt. Okay. I don't know the setup for this, but okay, that's 2 attempts. 3 attempts. Okay, I got it. Missed it. That's 4. Now think about 40 minutes of that. Yes, without fanfare. It's you're in this position or whatever position you're supposed to be in, and then you you know, set up. I don't know the setup for it, but you get the point. So that's all attempts. Oh, you practice with the fanfare? We're going to try and practice BT skip for a month on OEM rubbers to see if this is something that can become more consistent. Drewski, you're literally giving me hot and cold vibes right now. I'm only doing this as a test. And even if it does somehow become consistent, I have 0 plans to do this in a run. Or add this into runs. Please do not take this practice as a sign that this is how it starts. He's practicing it. Eventually he will add it. I stand very firm on my position with BT skip right now. I am practicing to separate for separate reasons. So it is just funny to me. I'm just noticing. I'm just noticing is all. It's like, you know, to see if this is something that can become more consistent. And then obviously, you know, this, and then there's this. I stand very firm on my position with BT skip right now. You know, I'm poking a little bit of fun at Drewski, but obviously, no. So yeah, changing your perspective with new information is great. Yes, bro doesn't want to hop on a call because then he'll see I'm reasonable. Feels unfair if Oats is speaking and Drew is writing. To be honest, right? Just give me a minute. I'm not getting on call about this. If Zenny and Drewski get on call, it's gonna be back and forth. Maybe it'll be good for a YouTube video. Let me get through this first. Let me see here. So I still need to get through this. So hardware, anyways, as I was saying. Yeah, hold on, just 1 second. I will. I don't know how I feel about the switches, because then also, like, with different switches and aftermarket switches that are mechanical, you know, Zenny just gave us 1 mechanical switch, but there, as we all know with keyboards, there are numerous mechanical switches that also would probably, you know, help the consistency significantly. You know, there's not just 1 mechanical switch. There are many with different travel distances, different pressure. So you could literally just fine tune it to where you have like the perfect switch, yeah, with like with different force resistance, and it's like literally the perfect BT skipping machine. And then if you want to be consistent as other players, you have to have those specific switches. And then I find that to be stupid and annoying. Like I said, this is only 1 mechanical switch that has been tested, but there are numerous. I just timed the climb room against you, Oats, and I was only 7 to 9 seconds behind you, and I have 10,000 hours, and you have 10,000, 100 hours, and you have 10,000. Okay, so let's just say it's a 12-second room, and you are 9 seconds behind. Okay, so you're still nearly, you know, 75% slower than me. Yeah. Okay, good luck. Another suggestion, the rules and bans are put in place to ban BT skip specifically. I'm saying that mechanical is iffy. Oh, I thought you were just talking shit. I don't think that that's a good argument, because the difference between 110,000 hours, like the difference between a 12-second room and a 20-second room is so astronomical. Like you can't just look and see, oh, it's only 9-second difference. That 9-second difference is insane. That's like saying, Oats, you have a 40-36, but I just got a sub 50. So watch out. You know, my mechanical keyboard's gonna get you. Zelda introduced. Okay. So one suggestion, I'm gonna see how I feel about this. To ban BT skip or require BTB defeated. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm like 50-50. So on one hand, I think BT skip is so stupid, and it would be destructive to the speedrun as a whole. I think it would potentially just be a speedrun killing trick that would just like slowly poison the community. It would not death by 1,000 cuts, but it would be like, because this is just one massive cut. It would just be poisonous. It would just seep. It would be a cancer. Yeah, death by one massive cut. Why would you ban something that shortens the speedrun? So there are plenty of things that shorten the speedrun, Dragonberg. So there's a category that beats the game in like 11 minutes, but we had to separate that, and it's banned in the other category. In Super Metroid, any percent no major glitches. So why would we ban that? It shortens the speedrun. So we ban that because we have to make distinctions between things and tricks, not only for whether or not they're classified as a major glitch, but also for essentially the health of the community as a whole. So yes, I don't know how I feel about banning this. I'm indifferent. I'm 50-50. If it were a banned, I'd be like, that's a good thing. If it weren't banned, I'd be like, okay, I mean, good luck and have fun, you know, destroying the game that you love to run. That is how I feel about it. Passionately. Like, it's because you're killing the game for yourself. Genuinely just destroying the game for yourself. And then it's potentially just destroying the health of the actual run and speedrun community as a whole. But if that's what you want to do, that's your thing. I can't stop you. So I'm 50-50 on whether or not it should be banned. Yeah, exactly. What Nebdi said too is like, define it as a glitch, but we have to like, what makes it a glitch, right? Oats, I feel the same, except I'm like 90% for restricting it instead of 50-50. Yeah, so Zenny feels like more 90-10 on this, like 90 to ban, 10 to keep because of the health of the community, and I do see that entirely. And I'm kind of 50-50, maybe like 60-40, because I think if it is allowed and people actually like really start grinding for it, which is insane, then it's just going to ruin the game. It's going to ruin the speedrun community as a whole, which the Super Metroid speedrun community is like great. It's active, it's lively. We have so much fun stuff going on, like especially with the map randos lately too. Like, it's a good community, and I genuinely think that if this were to like open up, first of all, no one would go for it other than like Drewski, because I got too much shit. I'm not gonna sit here and grind BT skip. Like, I'm an adult. That's how I feel about it. It's almost like funny to think that I would grind that, you know, and waste my time. So I wouldn't do it. Drewski, I'll get you on call here in just a second if you have a minute. But I'm going to finish this up. I think for sure you allow it in tournaments. You have BT skip in tournaments? Okay. So another suggestion is a ban attempting to leave the room via the use of 30-heart arm pumps. This is the same thing, except this creates the distinction between if we find something in the future that actually makes BT skip possible, and it's not going to create like RSI or some issue. So this still keeps the door open, because you never know. There might be something in the future that's like, oh, if you do this, like it actually changes the something of the game, and now we can skip it without 30-hertz arm pumps. But then if you ban it entirely, we have to walk this back. If anything, I feel maybe better with this, because this 30-hertz arm pumps, it's kind of tough. I don't know. I think I feel better with this than I do with banning it outright. Yeah, exactly. In the future, it might become actually doable with some thing we don't know yet. What's the pump average for standard controllers? With normal arm pumping, it's like 10 hertz. So yeah, I think this is better. I think it addresses possible easier methods. It addresses the advantage of the aftermarket switches. Yeah, exactly. So this kind of is more of a broad thing to where this does kind of capture the potential issues with aftermarket switches, because we've only tested one aftermarket switch, and upon testing, we obviously know that Drewski thought it was incredible. He may have changed his perspective, and we're gonna get him on call and see what he thinks. But there are numerous switches with different travel distances and different pressure, right? Like how much pressure do you need to press before it like actually activates? You can like fine tune that so much where it's like trivial. It becomes more trivial, right? Or less trivial or whatever. It just becomes so much easier, right? And that is a concern of mine, that since there's unlimited possibilities for mechanical switches, that you would legitimately just find something that makes it so consistent. Then it's like, well, everyone has to get these switches now. Wouldn't banning aftermarket hardware mods fix the whole thing? Well, what's wrong with an aftermarket hardware mod, though? Because we can't outright ban that. Like, I don't care if you have mechanical switches, because these controllers are 30 years old. It kind of sucks. We all use like aftermarket. I use these. These membranes are great, and these are not the membranes that we use, that the controller comes with. Right? It's just a different membrane. It makes it more consistent. So you can't really you can't say don't use mechanical switches. You have to like create some other distinction. Yeah, you have to ban left and right, because left and right is a whole can of worms that allows you to do some weird shit. Rant about hitboxes. Lock Eddie up. Lock him up. Okay, let's see what else. Sorry, I get so sidetracked. I didn't sleep much again, so I'm just like, my brain is scrambled eggs today. So this has a positive effect addressing the current concerns. Yeah. So I'm better. So if I want to create a stance, this is someone I just don't go, Oats, you're an elitist or this or that. I'm telling you just my journey with SM. I have 12 to 15,000 hours in the game. This game, I'm going to play this game when I'm like dying when I'm 95. My last dying wish will be like, find me a PVM, let me play Super Metroid one last time. Of course, be with my family too, but literally, this is a huge impact on my life. And, you know, it sounds dorky, whatever, but I have put a lot of time into this. This has been so much fun for me. And it's the most time I've ever put into anything in my life. Probably changed my brain chemistry at this point. But with that said, I have an opinion. You know, that might be different than some of your guys' opinions. Yeah, exactly. I arm pump when I go to the fridge. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, bury me with my PVM and a copy of Super Metroid. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, it means a lot to me. It's a great game. So my perspective might be different. I think that this, attempting to leave the room via the use of 30 hertz arm pumps, is probably the best possible outcome that we could have. Part of me, and you guys know how I am, I don't care if you want to do something that affects your health. If you want to self-regulate their decision, their decision on whether to attempt to learn and how to do it, this is going to create health issues for you. If you want to do that, I can't say what you can and cannot do. That's how I want to live. I never want to tell other people how to live. However, what we can do is explain the concerns that we have. There will be repetitive strain injuries. This is a also potential like speedrun community, not killer, but at a high level, it's just not good for the health of the community moving forward, the speedrun community. And that's, I've been in the speedrun community for SM since the late 2012. This is very, very bad for the community. However, do what you want. I'm giving mixed signals now. I'm heavily recommending, yeah. That's how I feel. I think you should be able to do what you want. And I will never say that you're doing something wrong. If you want to smoke a pack a day or 2 packs a day, I'm going to be like, man, that's obviously, you know, the health risks with that. But what am I going to say? It's your life. We're all going to be dead in 100 years. Enjoy yourself. You know? That's how I feel, and that's how I feel with this. I'm going to die. No! Everyone's having an existential crisis now. So it's kind of mixed. However, I'm going to say I'm strongly... So this banning BT skip, this is actually like a 20% don't ban the skip. Actually like a 10%, 10-90, don't ban it. 90% don't ban, 10% ban is how I feel. So heavily, this is a bad suggestion. I don't like this suggestion. This suggestion leaves the door open, and it also addresses issues with the aftermarket switches, which I think we've only tested one aftermarket switch. There are numerous that will benefit you greatly. I think this addresses that issue, but it also leaves the door open in the future just in case something is found, which makes BT skip actually viable in a healthy way moving forward for the community. So this, I'm like 90% cool with this suggestion, 10% not cool. Maybe like 20-80. The 20-80 rule. We'll go with the 20-80. I think this solves more problems. So this is important. Attempting to leave the room via 30 hertz. Because if you're doing Zohdin pumps, which I don't even do Zohdin pumps, but I'm going to have to do Zohdin pumps. Like if I go back to any percent, I have to. Because you save a lot of time here and there. And that's important. Like you'll save 10 frames here, 15 frames there, 5 frames there, and then it adds up. You're going to at least hit 30 arm pumps, 30 hertz pumps eventually when you're just Zohdin pumping down a hall. Yeah. So this would only specifically be to dissuade people from just doing the skip with the 30 hertz arm pumps. Imagine some tryhard doing 30 pumps everywhere and just killing their tendons in 3 months. Yeah, I mean, for sure. I do not understand a lot of this, but how would someone be able to see that someone did a 30 hertz arm pump? You could just frame by frame it. This is irrelevant. So like this addresses if this is a suggestion that is put into place, you cannot do the skip. So that's why this suggestion is good. Because if you do 29 hertz arm pumps, you can't do the skip. Impossible. The skip is only possible with 30. So you don't need to like look and see if they did 29. Because if they get the skip, they did 30. It has to be 30. Can't be 31, can't be 29, can't be 29.9. Can't be, it probably can't be 30.9 either. Yep. So this is, I'm not going to go through all this again because it's just, it's a lot, but there's so many reasons why this trick is insane. If you're going like, well, the thing is, I please understand the actual impossibility of this trick, like to be consistent with, and how many things need to go right in an actual run before you like give your opinion on whether or not it should be banned or allowed. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, and on top of that, it's a 50-50. And on top of that, there's hardware limitations because of polling rates. Like, if it wasn't for polling rates, I think, or the 50-50, the 50-50 is like, it's less. But if it wasn't for that, my opinion would be quite a bit different, I think. The polling rates may theoretically be less of an issue on other hardware. That is true as well, yeah, I suppose. I think it all depends on how to get it done in a consistent and reliable way. Including your runs without doing any setting accommodations. But if you need to accommodate further settings, game or controller or whatever, I think that should be, yeah. Yeah, so that's another thing that would need to be looked into. Like, would you have an advantage with polling rates if you use a Super NT or an emulator? You might. If polling rates in boats, yep, for sure. Does a SNES have a fixed polling time? That's a good question. Does it have a fixed or does it drift? That's probably important to know, because especially if it drifts, then it's like, I'm really strong. Is it fixed? So if it's fixed, that means like if you're at 30.1, consistently 30.1, I think you'll drift and it'll be off on one. It won't work. Yeah, I mean, you could do that, Eddie, yeah. So because of that, and with that said, that's why I'm also cool with this. So if you're wondering my position, I'm heavily leaning towards attempting to leave the room via the use of 30 hertz arm pumps being implemented. Would be a possible ban. If BT skip is not banned, I think that's also okay. Because then you have to split every single leaderboard. Can you please communicate that position in the Discord to the community moderators? Yes, I will. I will tomorrow after they make a decision. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Drewski, you want to get in here and state your case? I'll give you a few minutes. I'll charge you by the minute. So Drewski is like the only one that's actually grinding for this kind of stuff.
What up? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mic good and everything? Just double checking.
Yep, you're good.
All right, cool. Okay. So
how do you feel about it?
I'm very much so leaning towards the like banning of the 30, like leaving the room with the 30 hertz arm pumps. I think that's just like the best solution.
Yeah.
I do think it would be really bad for the run if this were somehow to become like, it's not fun to watch. It's not an entertaining, like, I don't know. That's just how I feel. And I see Zenny saying, it's like a swing set in here. What the fuck? I don't know what he means by that, but yeah, Zenny, when you're presented with new information, sometimes opinions change. And that's pretty crazy, right? I don't want BT skip banned, but I do think it's fair to... I think the current method is just kind of ridiculous and stupid, and I've put enough time into it to feel pretty confident in that position. And I don't like... I am agreeing with the idea that like 30 hertz arm pumping leaving is just like... It's just the best idea, because it does also make it... like, it still opens the door for other things too. Because like, even if there was 2 frames of leniency, like 1 or 2 frames, this trick would be very viable.
Yeah.
Like, very viable. Just, all you need is like 1 or 2 frames. It's just
if you had like 1 extra frame, or it got rid of the 50-50, or the hardware limitations weren't a thing, I think I would be so much more
I would
accepting.
also be way more inclined to not be like banning it at all. But I'm like, there are so many things that have to go right. That's why I'm doing this test, because I'm like, I don't think this is even something that can become consistent, no matter how consistent you are at 30, quote-unquote, 30 hertz arm pumping, which I'm already pretty consistent at, for the most part. Like, I'm not, like, ultra consistent, but it's something that I'm pretty good at, and I'm still finding it very difficult to get many BT skips.
So...
like, so many things have to go right.
Within your 40 minutes, you got it 6 times, and that's starting
it's
from
like 40
the...
to 50, yeah, somewhere in that range.
So that's starting from the position to where Samus is basically... You're in the position ready. This isn't the proper position, whatever. But you're in the position, you go for the setup, and then that's, you know, you just keep repeating that. Do you use the fanfare or not?
You have to use the fanfare. You have to set up for Zohdin pumping. So
you have to use the fanfare, okay. So... yeah. How many attempts do you think that you did within that time? I would assume a lot.
Hold on. It's probably...
It's got to be a few hundred. Like, you can get a lot of attempts.
Yeah, it depends on how many times you get this set up. because like it comes in waves where like I won't get the actual setup, the jump, and the left and the right, the start press and everything for like 2 minutes, and then I'll get it like 8 times in a row, right? And it's like it goes in waves, but I'd say on average, it's probably 1 attempt on average every like 7 seconds. 6 to 7, maybe 5. Like, okay, we'll go with 5. I think that's a good measure. Like, with how many? Because it takes about 10 seconds when you hit the fanfare. Like, it's a full attempt is about 10 seconds, but if you miss the frame perfect jump and everything and all of that, then it's probably 1 every 5 seconds.
So we can say it's around. We'll just say 500 attempts within that time. It could be more, it could be less.
I'd say that the consistency at that point was like I hit 2 within like 3 or 4 minutes, and then it went like a 10-minute break. I was hitting it like once every 8 to 10 minutes on average. So probably 1 every 100 attempts, give or take. Maybe. And that was I kind of was on fire. I was kind of cooking. Like it's not normally like that. So that's why I'm curious to see if you can even get something consistent here.
So if we do the math, unless I did this way wrong, you got about 6, like this is just back to back, and you're kind of, you kind of get the setup in your mind and then you go for it again. So that is, it's like 45 hours of attempts to get 6 successful BT skips.
I would say that's not super inaccurate, no. That's pretty...
Yeah, unless I did the math wrong. I have the calculator open, and basically...
I might just go back and honestly just count the attempts, just to see, because I'm curious now that you say it. And that way you can get an actual accurate...
Yeah, so then you see how many attempts, then you just figure out how long does it take to get the BT, and then you divide that, obviously, like how many hours is that, essentially. A rough estimate right now for me is like 45, I think, based off of just like really, really rough numbers. So that's pretty awful.
I do see people in chat talking about like, can you do this without like holding a pen or whatever? I think if you're gonna ban that, to me that's ridiculous. People like had in SM64 they used like liquid chalk. They had like sweat towels. They like these are just like little things.
I think it is a little thing as well.
Too.
I agree with that. Yes.
It's like it's just for my fingers because it really hurts if you don't do it for like if you do it for too long without anything supporting there. Like I don't know what joint it is. It's like in between your knuckle and your fingernail. There's like another bone. That part starts to hurt after a while. So I do it for that, and then it also really does help with. It is helpful for consistency, but yeah, I think it's ridiculous. If you're gonna ban holding a pen or you can hold anything. It's really not picky. I just happen to have a Sharpie nearby, and I just use that. But.
So roughly, it will take you about 8 hours to get 1 attempt, and you're the most practiced at this and successful. So with rough
8
numbers,
hours with the 50-50 at the end.
Yes. So
yes.
Yes. So according to my math, very loose math, I could be wrong. I might have done something wrong, but it's roughly 8 hours for 1 potential successful attempt. So this is important for the chat to understand, like these numbers. Imagine 8 hours of grinding. Drewski is fairly consistent at these arm pumps, and it takes roughly with that math when you're like in the zone grinding. So it could be more. I don't think it would be less.
That's exactly what I think.
Yeah.
I can't see me. I think it would take 15 to 20 hours to get an attempt, maybe. Because the fact that you can't, like, if you miss, what you're not factoring in here too is if you miss the setup and you already like open the bombs up, it's kind of, it's like the whole setup loses even more time, and then you have to do it's a whole thing, and it's like, dude, it's so dumb. And that's why I'm like, I am very firm in my position. I will never be doing this in runs. I really mean that. I have zero want or care to do it in a run. I have like absolutely no desire.
Okay.
Unless other new information is found out.
Yes. So with the current information, with how difficult it is, with you being as consistent as you are, and it potentially taking an entire work day for 1 potential session just to get a slow fan tune, you never know. It's just you're in the camp of attempting to leave the room via the use of 30 hertz arm pumps being implemented as a potential ban.
I think so too. Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah.
Okay. And I want your unfiltered opinion as well, not just because I said something or like how you feel about it. Obviously, give you a lot of shit because you're saying you're flip flopping, but you know, I don't want to like bias or give
I
you
am
any.
a very, in general, pretty open-minded person, so information can sway me somewhat easily, unless it's like moral things. Like if it's a morality thing, I'm pretty stern on those. But like for something like this, when I'm presented with a lot of information, and this past week has been pretty exhausting with how many people are talking about this, and like I am being not like physically bombarded or like mental like there's just been so many opinions being thrown out at once that it's like I am confused fully what I want, but I also have people that I look up to and trust, and I trust their opinion almost as like more than my own. So when you say something like that, I'm like, I can see fully why you believe that, and I'm not too far off. Does that make sense? Like I'm not too like I also kind of believe what you're saying, and I also believe that like your opinion is kind of the quote unquote correct one.
Yeah, even if we
You know what I
disagree,
mean?
though, I want you to obviously
Oh yeah,
like
if we
think,
disagree with something, I'll let you know.
yeah, because I don't want
Yeah.
I don't want to be swaying you in one way or the other, since you're the one that's grinded this. And obviously, you're saying I'm influential on your perspective on it, but it's
more hours
important to
than
me
I
as
have.
well that you have a perspective that is not influenced by how I feel. But
Oh yeah, but it's not just you. It's plenty of other community members, and I also think it's important to like realize a lot of these opinions come from a place of love for the game. It's not people wanting to create actual drama. It's because they care about the game and they want what's best for like the health of the speedrun. And I think it's important to look at it through that lens rather than like people who are like, "Oh, you should do it in a run now, dude, because you've already done it." I only want like there are definitely people who are just want to see it be done in a run because it would be quote unquote cool. They don't care about you or like what they, how much work that would actually take. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah, yep, okay. Well, do you have any other
I do. I
perspective
have
on
a
it?
couple more things I want to say.
Okay, all right.
I do think the mechanical switch thing, I think you're very right. We've only tried one switch. I'm sure there are so many others that would be. But I have more mechanical switches that I bought like in a pack. There's like a whole pack that I bought with a whole like a fake Super Nintendo controller. It was a whole thing. Anyway, I haven't tried those. I don't plan to try them either. I don't want to open up a controller and solder everything, and that just seems kind of miserable. But I don't think there are people in the main Discord who are talking about banning mechanical switches, and I think that's ridiculous. And I think if you're going to be banning mechanical switches, Zenny's right. You have to ban hitboxes, which would make zero sense because I feel like everyone's already on board with keyboard and hitbox for the most part. Like it's not really. We've only seen one person like rise to the top with hitbox, and that's Eddie, and he kind of just like stopped anyway.
Yeah, he's fallen
So it's
off
like-
anyways. So
Yeah, he fell off for real.
Yep,
So, I don't know. I'm like everyone's fine with hitbox, so like I don't know. Anyway.
yeah, you can't walk back the hitbox keyboard thing at this point because you've opened the door for more accessibility
Exactly.
for a larger community. It's obvious that you cannot walk that decision back at this
exactly.
point. So with that in mind, it's tough to say because it's a lot of ifs. Like if you have a mechanical switch that is so beneficial that it allows the consistency to skyrocket, then that's a problem. But that is still a big if. But I think it's an if that
Then it's
is
covered under that umbrella of that 30 hertz.
yeah,
arm
it's
pump.
potentially a big enough if that it should be addressed, and the 30 hertz arm pumps does address that as well. So
Yeah, precisely.
is there anything else?
I want to say that's it. I don't know if chat has any questions, but I think I've said my piece for the most part.
Chat, do you have anything? Why is splitting the leaderboards bad? Because you would need to split
creates
every single
division.
category, and it's just messy.
Yeah, it just gets like insane.
Then you have
What is
one
BT
run.
skip? I love this guy. He just got here. Have you drank enough water? I did. I cut a tree earlier, and I was very dehydrated.
Let's
Why
see
do you
here.
practice BT skip then? Okay, that's a good point. That's what I wanted to bring up. I completely forgot about that. I feel like I always have been someone who's like, if something's really hard, I want to do it just because I'm like, I want to prove it's possible. I did that in Super Mario Bros. 1. I did that with I tried to do it with Lightning 4 2 before anyone else had done it. I tried to do it with Ridley's Short Charge when I started playing, or like room grinding, anything like that. I enjoy doing difficult things. I was practicing BT skip kind of for that reason, but also because I don't even know if this is something that you could can be more consistent. I'm of the belief that there is a skill ceiling, right? And I'm like there's a ceiling of how consistent it can become because of the polling rate and because of the 50-50 and because all of that I think creates a ceiling. And I'm just curious to see if that can even become more consistent. Even if it does, I don't want to do it in runs. That would be miserable. I would not have fun. I already was miserable grinding bombs world record attempts. And I took a break because I couldn't stand playing series that much. I was over it. I can't imagine doing that on top of a BT skip. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I don't have any plans to do it. I practice things for fun. I did room grinding for fun. Some things could be for fun. Do you think 2 people will beat your time anytime soon?
I mean, yeah, if you keep grinding, yeah, obviously there's a possibility for that. I mean, maybe Zenny if he keeps grinding, but yeah, I mean, people could beat it. If you're capable of getting the sub 41, you're capable of getting a world record. It's just if you have the time and.
Zenny, I knew Zenny was gonna beat it. Sorry.
Drewski for sure. Zenny, well, I mean, that's a different conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a whole different thing. Anyway, I appreciate you having me on. I don't want there to be misconfusion. I get a lot of people coming into my stream already who are like, BT skip? Why aren't you? You're so mad at BT, just skip him, dude. And I'm like, I get that it's kind of like Eddie with hitbox and you and execute and it's kind of just one of those things now. And I kind of have to live with that. But I just kind of wanted to make my stance clear since I feel like I have been somewhat wishy-washy about the whole thing. And that's just because I also, this is still a new discussion. 1 week is not that long. We still need to I don't know. It still needs to be fleshed out and figure things out. And opinions can be subject to change based on new information, and that's a healthy behavior and thing to do. Keep an open mind. Anyone in chat, keep an open mind. So
yeah, and I think people are asking, well, what new information since you already read the Google Doc?
Yeah.
I think what Drewski means by that is a new information via my perspective.
I think just new information also that I did read the doc a while ago, but I also was reading it in more of a pedantic fashion where I was looking at it how would the whole community take this? Not how I felt about this, right? How would the whole community read this document and feel about it? I also think there was new information maybe added since I last read it, which is interesting, but maybe there wasn't. I just don't remember it that well, but yeah, I am. Also, my opinion hasn't changed too much since a week ago maybe. So it's been pretty consistent for the most part, but I think hearing Oats talk about, and I think seeing the 30 hertz ban there and having it be talked about, I think it is probably the best solution for at least that we know of right now. So
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate you.
Yep. Well, thanks for giving your perspective on it. Appreciate it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Thank you. Bye, chat. Bye. See ya.
All right. So that was Drewski. Thanks, Drewski. Yeah. Well, I was trying to give some sort of, because what Drewski was saying is because I think I saw Denny or someone saying you had the Google Doc before. Why did your perspective change? Because there was no new information. I think the point of that is the new information is a different perspective. And that is Sassy, sorry. The new information is in the form of another perspective. Saves 12 seconds if done perfectly. Okay, well, I think that's pretty much everything. Like I said, I don't want to be elitist. This is just my perspective on it. I'll say one more time before I leave. I think that this is probably the best outcome, and this is probably I'll have to sleep on it and think about it because a lot of times there's a lot of information, and it's hard to process the information and actually come up with a really well thought out perspective. As of now, I think that this, to me, is one of the better solutions because then it addresses more than one thing. But getting rid of these things that are addressed are also positive. It's not detrimental to the run. It's it's being proactive, as Zenny addressed before, trying to be proactive. So yes. All right. Well, I think that about settles it. If anything changes, I'll let everyone know. Thank you, Zenny, for writing the Google Doc. I am going to call an early night here, just because I need to rest. Yo, race? No. Yes, thanks for watching. Thanks for hearing my perspective on it. Obviously, SM means a lot to a lot of us, and that's just... We do care about the run as a whole and the community. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all probably tomorrow, and have a great night. Thanks for hearing me out.